I have had a lot of comments on my channel about Linux. Actually, there might be enough that I could do one of those like weird, like, here, let me post every single comment someone's left on my channel telling me to do X thing, little compilation things. I'm not gonna do that, maybe just a little bit. But needless to say, a lot of questions about Linux. And I will say, for years now, I have been a big fan of Linux. I built a Plex server a while ago that's been running Debian since the day it was born. Anytime I've messed with anyone else's computer, I've installed Linux on it. Any computer I've fixed, just sort of by default, if I think I can get away with it, I'll just wipe Windows out, put some kind of Linux distribution on there. My go-to is Elementary OS, by the way. It's good. It's based on Debian or Ubuntu, but it also maintains like a very simple, straightforward user interface focused, like very simple user interface. You can see it actually looks remarkably like a Mac, and I've installed this particular operating system on several people's computers and had no complaints whatsoever. It's relatively fast. Haven't really had any issues with it. That's the big thing, is I don't want to have to constantly be going back to fix a computer. So if you're in the same situation, people ask you for computer help a lot, this is my recommendation for what to install for your average computer user. But of course, I'm trying not to sound pretentious about it, but I'm just not your average computer user. I think most people watching this channel wouldn't be. Like, we know a good bit about how computers work, or at the very least are interested in it, both hardware and software. And actually, oddly enough, that's been the biggest reason that I've stuck with macOS for quite a while. There are a couple of applications that I use very frequently. Mainly we're talking about some of these Adobe apps here, and we're talking about Final Cut. And you will know these are exclusives for, well, Final Cut is an exclusive for macOS, but the Adobe apps are just a pain to ever get running on Linux. You can do some stuff with Wine to try to get them running, and I've seen people get Premiere running on Linux, but it's just such a pain. And that's really been my particular holdup. Sorry, by the way, if there's a lot of chatting in front of this video. This is supposed to be an install guide. I don't know why I'm talking so much in front of it. Whatever. Anyways, that's the main reason I've been sticking with macOS for a while, is these apps, can't really get them on Linux. I've thought about switching to PC, quite frankly. Honestly, I've thought about just building a nice system or buying a cheaper laptop that I can upgrade some of the internals in myself and, running After Effects and Premiere over there. And I have done that at limited times. You can install a Linux subsystem for Windows now, so I'd still get the nice Unix command line that I'm used to using, which is, of course, the main draw of macOS and Linux and FreeBSD and all the good stuff that I like to mess around with for me. And also, to be clear, when it comes to these apps, like, my issue isn't necessarily just that I just love Premiere and I need to edit in Premiere. I have Final Cut installed as well, and I edit in Final Cut and Premiere about an equal amount of time. I've edited in Avid. I haven't really used DaVinci Resolve too much. I'm not a huge fan of that one, which is a shame because that's one of the ones that's available on Linux. But there are other editing solutions available on Linux, and clearly I'm going to be looking into these. The issue isn't necessarily that I want to use a particular NLE, it's that I do like some freelance motion graphics work, and if people are sending around Premiere Pro projects and Final Cut projects, they're not going to be very happy if I send them back a Kdenlive project. That doesn't mean that I can't do my own work in a different NLE that supports Linux, but it also sort of means that I can't just throw away my MacBook, at least for now. And so I will still have the MacBook, and I don't know how well switching to Linux is going to work for me, but I'm going to give it a shot. And so let's talk about what I'm picking. A couple of notes I would make about Linux. Let's open up that Elementary OS page again. Looking at this. This is a very similar desktop environment to what you would get on macOS, and there are a whole bunch of these. There's GNOME, there's KDE, XFCE, a whole bunch of very, base level user-focused graphical environments. My thought on this is, and this may piss a couple of people off, is that if I'm just going to use a sort of standard graphical desktop environment, that's the same thing I'd get on macOS. That's the same thing I'd get on Windows, but in a frankly more polished way. Now, that's not to say necessarily that, the default macOS desktop environment with its dock and menu bar is necessarily better than XFCE or KDE or whatever, but it is, one, more polished, two, longer running and more supported and has has a large user base and you can figure out more information about it more easily. Really all I'm trying to express is that this typical sort of desktop environment doesn't appeal to me. If I'm going to use Linux, I want it to be because I'm getting something that I can't get on macOS or Windows, which is of course where the tiling window manager comes in. I'm talking about awesome window manager. I'm talking about i3, I guess. There's a lot of these. Everyone that I follow and like all the subreddits have been talking about DWM a lot, so I might check that out. That one seems to function a bit differently than some of the others, so we might save that for later. I doubt this will be the first thing I install. But a tiling window manager, this is basically the idea that, well, you know, it's not a desktop environment. There's no dock, there's no menu bar. You can add a menu bar to the top, most people do. Well, I think most people do. But the idea is that all this like desktop environment does is stack windows in a way that you would want them to, that you would want it to. Now, I brought up Awesome Window Manager here because this seems to be a good, pretty beginner-friendly one that also is fairly customizable, so you could stick with it for a while, conceivably. It's written in Lua, which I have a tiny amount of experience messing with. I don't know, whatever. Awesome Window Manager is supposed to be a good one. The other factor here that appeals to me about Linux is that I can conceivably build a system that only has the things that I want on it. Let's bring up that application folder again. There's two ways I'll demonstrate the issue that I'm talking about here. Look at all of these apps in this application folder. And now let's click on the ones that I actually actively use. VirtualBox, VLC, Typora. I use Tor a bit. Okay, so we have 43 of 84 apps selected. So that means that, oh wait, hold up, almost forgot about Alacrity. 44 of 84. Really what we're looking at here is just basically half of the apps that are on this system I don't use. And why are they here? They're pre-installed junk that Apple decided most people would want to use. You know, I don't have to explain, this is a very common problem that people have. There are all sorts of apps that are on your system that you're just never gonna touch, but they're still here. And, you know, I mean, I could be a bit more generous. Look, I use the calculator sometimes. That's the first issue we're getting at. The second issue that I'm getting at here is, let me open up some sort of a process viewer here. We'll use, I've been using GoTop a bit recently, so we'll check out GoTop here. Well, GoTop doesn't display very well. Let's use HTOP. Okay, these are all of the processes that are running on my system here, and you can see me just scrolling through them. There are an absurd amount of processes. There is so much crap running in the background that I couldn't begin to tell you what about half of these are even associated with. I mean, you're lucky if they'll list out the actual location of the app so you can tell, like, oh, okay, this is a VirtualBox process, or, you know, whatever else. More than once I've had a process kind of going out of control and I have no clue what it is, and I have to do a lot of Googling just to figure out how to kill the process that's causing an issue. Now, I'm not saying that if I install a minimal distro like Arch or BSD or, you know, like the Manger Architect installer, yeah, I've run that a few times, and I run it like a process viewer, and it's not like I know what every single process does, but there's a lot less of that just wall of processes that I couldn't define if I want to. So there's a couple of solutions that appeal to me. I am going to go with what is probably a pretty predictable one, and that's intentionally so because it's popular and there'll be like a lot of support channels, I'm hoping, when I run into issues, because inevitably I will run into issues because I'm installing Arch Linux. And I'm not totally new to Linux. Like, I've set up plenty of Linux systems, and I've messed around with Linux plenty of times. I used to dual boot Linux. I'm not at all new to the system, and I have used Manjaro quite a bit in the past, so I'm pretty familiar with Pacman, the package manager on Arch, but I have not ever done an Arch install. I've seen people do it. I've watched Arch install guides, but never done it myself. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing I should mention, the resource I'm using to make this happen is the Arch Wiki installation guide. The good thing about this particular guide is that if you run into any kind of problem, there are links all over the place. So, you know, if it tells me to verify the GPG key for the download that I have, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. I have no clue how to do that. Well, there's links that tell you how to do it. And, you know, further on, if I want more info about setting up the keyboard, all sorts of other things, there's a link for almost every little step here. It'll tell you almost exactly what command to run in the terminal, but it'll also give you links all over the place for more info and other options and things like that. So this, I think, is probably just about the best guide that we could use. So let's go ahead and hop over here. I have this running in a virtual machine, of course, because that's really the only way to record this properly. Also, I should be clear about this from the beginning. A lot of the Arch Linux install videos you'll see are split into two videos. There's the actual getting Arch Linux installed and just getting a shell so that you can like restart, you'll have networking, and you can set it up however you want. They won't go into setting up like Xorg or getting whatever window manager or desktop environment you want working. They'll just be like, hey, here's how we get this working. That will probably also be the case with this as well. Since I've never done this before, I'm anticipating to run into some issues. And that's very much intentional. I want there to be, I'm hoping to make like dumb beginner mistakes, and hopefully by you watching this video, you'll have a better idea of how not to make those dumb beginner mistakes. But we'll see what happens here. Also, it probably stands to reason that people might not know how to set up a virtual machine here. So let me just power this off here, and let's come over here. Where's my virtual machine stuff? Let's just set up a new virtual machine real quick. We'll delete this old one. Now I do have a Arch Linux ISO, and you can get that by just going to the download page over here. And Arch Linux actually makes it pretty easy. You just click on download, and they've got some direct links down here, and you've got a magnet link and a torrent file download right here. That's all I did. I just grabbed the magnet link and threw it into my setup over here. In case you're looking for some more info about how to use a command line torrent tool, there'll be a card up in the corner. Made a video about that, I think, last week. So yeah, let's try to get people watching as much stuff as I can. Anyways, VirtualBox. We'll open up VirtualBox. Whoop, maybe we will. And the first thing we want to do is just hit new over here, set up a new system. And if we just type in Arch Linux, VirtualBox should fill out everything for you. If not, just, pick a Linux distro, and it'll give you some options about what specific Linux distro you want. Just pick Arch. I don't think that matters too much. I think that's more just for like organizational purposes, but I don't know. There's an expert mode if you want. I certainly don't fall into that category. Continue. There we go. I'm gonna give this a good like 4 gigs of RAM to work with or so. Just give it about as much as you can. You can go all the way up to, you can give it all the RAM you want if you want, but I think ideally you're supposed to stay within this green area. I'm just gonna give it, we really don't need much RAM here. Maybe we'll just do 2 gigs actually. We're gonna create a virtual hard disk. By default it's 8 gigs. I don't know what any of that means. Dynamically allocated. This is cool. You can create a virtual hard disk that basically all this means is that as you fill up the hard disk, the virtual hard disk that you're creating, it will grow in file size on your system. So if I decide I want this to be able to use 20 gigs of storage, until I get to 20 gigs, the disk image will not be 20 gigs on my system. It will be, whatever it's at currently. So that's exactly what we'll do. We will create like a 20 gig image. It seems like overkill for what we're doing here, but that's okay. And then we'll hit create. Now, let's hop back into the settings. And a couple of things I want to do here is I want to hop over to system, and I want to let this use, if I go over to the process tab, I want to let this use a couple more cores. So I'll just let it use 2 cores, or 2 threads, I guess. This is a quad core CPU, so yeah, this is threads. I'll let it use 2 threads. And then if we hop over to display, I want it to be able to use as much video memory as it wants. And we want to enable 3D acceleration. I don't think that'll make a difference right now, but I believe that'll create some issues later on when we're getting into like some actual graphical environments. So we'll make sure that's turned on. And then let's go into storage. And right here under this IDE controller where there's this empty disk, we just want to click this disk icon, and we can load the Arch Linux ISO. So we'll say choose disk file. If I hop over to my downloads, there it is right there. And you can see, by the way, there, that was a 652 megabyte disk image. That's the whole operating system. So this is quite small, quite compact. Should be just what we want in the end. There really shouldn't be much to this operating system, which is very appealing to me. All right, so we'll let that start up over here. This is our Arch Linux system here. We can just hit start. Okay, cool. So first thing we want to do, boot Arch Linux. I assume that's the first thing we want to do. Maybe I should have checked the install guide. Okay, so we are logged in as root now on the Arch ISO. Cool. Let's check the install guide. I do have it over here, but I feel like it makes more sense for me to open it on a different screen and kind of go through it so that I'm not constantly switching back and forth. I will sort of switch over there. Well, I don't know. Maybe it makes sense to look over here. Anyways, first issue that we have that we need to run into after we like verify that we have the right thing and everything, and after we boot, is it wants us to look at setting up the keyboard layout. And there are some instructions for doing that here. In my case, I'm quite lucky. The default console key map is US. So that should be fine for me. I could do like a little test here just to make sure that all my keys are working, which they are, so that's cool. And then the next thing we want to do is verify the boot mode. Oh yeah, that's not an issue with the virtual machine. Okay, and then connect to the internet. So we need to ping a website. Luckily I've got one. So we have internet access. Very nice. And now we want to update the system clock. So that command is time date ctl set ntp true. So time date ctl set ntp true. Cool. To check the service status, run time date ctl status. Oh, okay, cool. And then we need to partition the disk. So that's pretty early on. Now, they tell you to use this command fdisk. I really hate fdisk, and I know there's one that I like. Do I have? No, I don't have Pacman yet. Well, maybe, do they have cfdisk? Oh, very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, can I cancel out of this? Install guide says to use this program called fdisk to partition your disks. I hate using fdisk so much, and there's a way better program that's way easier to use called cfdisk, and luckily enough, it is installed here by default. So what do we need here? We're going to need a DOS system, and this is giving us our hard drive here. We've got a like 20 gig hard drive, and what we want to do is we want to create a new partition. We'll just use the whole partition. You can create swap disks and stuff if you want to, and that might be a good idea, but I know very little about that, so I'm going to skip on right past that. We want this to be the primary drive. So the partition type is Linux 83. I believe if you come over to type and you want to create like a swap drive or something, some other type of drive, this would be how you do that. So you can see here, Linux swap is type 82, a lot of good stuff like that. So of course I want type 83. And then I believe what we have to do is come over here where it says bootable, hit enter, and that'll add a little asterisk right up here under boot, and that should be good. So then we can write that drive. We're just going to type in yes. The partition table has been altered, and you can see we have a new device, SDA1. SDA is the actual drive. SDA1 means that this is the first partition on the drive. And for our purposes, we're only going to have the one partition. And you can also see we get the location up there. It's in /dev/SDA1. So we should be able to quit out of this program now. Like I said, this one's way easier to use than fdisk. That would have been like, I mean, I don't know if it would have been more complicated, but whatever. So now we need to format these partitions. There are a lot of file systems we could use. Arch Linux is recommending ext4. Sounds good to me. I mean, if you click on this link here, they'll give you more option about some file systems. There are a lot of options here. Like you hear some people talking about like ZFS and stuff like that sometimes, but if Arch Linux is recommending we go with extended 4, I am cool with that. So we're gonna say make file system, MKFS, .ext4, okay? And it's gonna be on that drive that we just created. So it'll be /dev/s DA1. Important thing to mention here, I believe if you have multiple drives installed and you're partitioning multiple drives, like your boot drive or the first drive in whatever SATA port is going to be SDA. And then the 1 signifies that this is the first partition. Like if we had created a swap partition, that would probably be SDA2. But if you have multiple drives installed, multiple drives plugged in, when you partition those, they'll be SDB or SDC and so on. In our case, we really just have one drive and one partition, so this is about as simple as it could possibly get, but you know, keep that in mind. Hit that, we'll get some stuff here, writing super blocks file. Okay, well, it's done, cool. And then what do we need to do? Oh, mount it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here, we're gonna type in mount, that same drive that we just put a file system on, /dev/SDA. Does tab completion work here? It does, sweet. Dev/SDA1, we're going to mount it on /MNT. Hit enter, no error reported, so we'll assume we're in the clear. Okie dokie. What else do we have here? So we're ready to install Linux. The first thing we need to do though is edit the mirror list so that we're only using mirrors that are local to us. That should make this process go faster. The way that we do that is, do we have a text editor installed right now? Do we have Nano? We do. Cool. We might have Vim as well. Oh my god, we have Vim. Nice. Okay, cool. So the file that we want to edit is in /etc/pacmand, and it's called mirror list. Hey, there we go. Cool. So you can see here, it's very verbose about what's going on. It's telling you where each mirror is. We just want some US mirrors. So let's just start deleting the ones that don't fit that description. And I don't really know how many we need. I don't think we need to go through the whole file. What I've been told is you need probably like 5 or 10 mirrors to download from, and that should make sure that you can get the download done pretty quickly. And what it is that we're downloading is actual just Linux, you know, like the most recent version of Arch Linux, this standard install, and that's it really. Okay, so I'm deleting everything except for some of these United States servers. Of course, you know, if you're in a different country, you know, I mean, this much is obvious. And I'm going to assume that's enough. So we'll just delete the rest of these entirely. And then if we do :X, we can save and quit the file. And if we cat out that file, it should be quite small now. Yeah, there we go. And then we're ready to actually install Linux. So the command for that is Pacstrap on mount/mount. Again, that's, keep in mind, that's where we just put our hard drive. It's mounted now, you know, our partition. And then we want to install the base package, the Linux package, and the Linux firmware package, and hit enter. My understanding, this is going to take a little while, so you know, we can pour ourselves something to drink here. I've got a nice Suntory whiskey, which apparently is kind of hard to get a hold of right now. It's not like a very good one, it's just the Toki, which I think is like kind of the lowest bar one. It's not bad. It tastes very interesting, much different than any other whiskey I've ever had. It's the closest thing I could compare it to is like a sort of standard Irish whiskey, I guess. It's very interesting though, if you can get your hands on it. Check it out. But you know, anyways, find something to do, sit back and enjoy while this does a lot of work for you, and we'll be back. I hate when I'm watching a YouTube video and people say like, hey, all right, I'm gonna pause the recording and then we'll be back in a second. It seems really odd to me. I don't know why. It's like a pet peeve, but I'm kind of doing the exact same thing here. Maybe we'll just do like the standard Hollywood magic snap. Okay, cool. I believe at this point Linux is actually installed. We're still on the Linux ISO, but actual Linux should be installed onto that partition that we set up. So what we should need to do is at some point switch over to that. It looks like there's one step before that. Generate an fstab file. Okay, I don't really know what that is, but I will follow my guide here. So we do gen fstab -u /mount, and then we're gonna do some chevrons. I think that's like what they're called, greater than sign chevrons. You know what I'm talking about here. And then we'll do /mount/etc fstab. Cool. So the next thing we'll do is, oh, we're swapping over to the new system. So the command for that, I have used this once before on Manger. I don't remember what the hell issue I was having, but I was having a real bad issue. So it's arch-chroot, which change root, and then we're going to change root onto MNT, which is, of course, where we have SDA1, our partition, mounted. Okay. So that looks different now, and I believe now we're actually on the Arch Linux install. We're running off of the partition that we just set up. So let's go ahead and clear the screen. And next thing we want to do here, time zone. Well, this is confusing. ln-sf. Oh, so we're creating a link from... okay, I think I see what's happening here. Let me... So if we do change directory into /usr/share, and then zone info. If we hit tab here, okay, cool. It's listing out countries, and I assume if I go into, what do we have here? Do I have a US option? United, well, that's not it. US, okay, US. And then if I hit tab again, it should list out, okay, current time zone. So I'm in the central time zone. Okay, cool. So we need to do ln-sf. That's just gonna create a symbolic link, or some type of link. And again, the location is /usr/share zone info. And then if you hit tab twice, it'll give you all the options. So in my case, we are in the US. And if I hit tab twice again, I get all the more options. And I am in Central Time. And do I have any other options there? No, that's the file. And then that's gonna link to /etc into a file called local time. And what we could do is we could cat out /user share /zone info /us/central. Okay, that's completely unreadable. I think we might have made a bad mistake here. That's okay, let's just keep going. The next thing it says to create here is hwclock -- this is just a command we type in. It's going to generate a file in /etc called agadj time, adjust time, I'm guessing is what that stands for. So let's run that. We're going to say hwclock. Oh God. Can we maybe like cat out a normal file? That might work. Can I like can I echo something to a file? Where are we? We're in, I don't even know where we are. Can we load Vim? We do not have Vim. Oh man, I really fucked something up big time. Shit. I don't even know how this happened. Fuck. Alright, well, I guess the next thing to do would be to just restart the ISO here. Can we just do restart? Let's kill this machine, power off, and where did I put that? That's what we want. Start it up again, see if we can have better luck. Boot existing OS, I believe is what we want to do. So this is booting. We'll see what happens here. I was kind of hoping to avoid this, but I think I might have to completely start over. All right, fine. All right, so let's restart it again. We'll just restart, and I'll try to blast through this as quick as I can this time around. I don't know how I fucked up so royally there. All right, we're back at root, ping a site, make sure we're good. Okay, we still got network access. Time, date, DTL, set NTP, true. Then we're gonna run CF disk. And we want to delete that partition, create a new partition. And then we want to format that. That's make file system.ext4/dev/sda1. And then we'll mount /dev/sda1 to/mount. Okay. And then I guess we run that pacstrap command again. Pacstrap on mount, and we'll install base. Linux and Linux firmware. Okay, and grab more whiskey, because that will definitely help make sure I don't make any more mistakes. It really does just smell delicious, though. I don't know how to explain it. The thing that I was drinking before is this is a Wood Forest Reserve. It's like a bourbon. American whiskey. And then you switch to this Japanese whiskey, which I assume is distilled from something different. Like bourbon is distilled from corn, I think? I don't know. You know what? Hey, we got a Googler right here. What is Suntory whiskey distilled from? What is bourbon distilled from? Broadly speaking, the style of Japanese whiskey is more similar to Scotch. Really interesting. That's weird because it doesn't really taste like any Scotch that I've ever had. Like I said, to me it tasted more like Irish whiskey. It was the only thing I could think to compare it to. Why is this such a difficult piece of information to get? What is it fermented from? Whoa, what? Monitors compile a comprehensive compilation of bourbon and whiskey mash bill recipes on the net. Whoa! Okay, cool. Modernthirst.com. Well, let's make sure they got what I want first. So, Buffalo Trace. I've had that. What's in that? It's just a standard Buffalo Trace. Oh, okay. So it's telling us the percentage of corn, the percentage of rye, the percentage of wheat, and so on. So if we go look for Wood Forest, well, sorry, not Wood Forest, Woodford Reserve. So it's 72% corn and 18% rye. No info about the wheat. 10% barley. If they have info about that, can we look up Suntory? Oh, no, okay. See, they didn't get enough egg white in there. You really got to get some egg white in there. It's very nice and creamy. Drizzly. I can't order from Drizzly, though, because Texas sucks. Wow, we really got off on some kind of a tangent. Here's something else I've been into. Pirate ships. I want to build a ship, like a boat, a sailboat. First of all, I want to learn how to sail a sailboat. Second of all, I want to build a sailboat. I looked it up. I was watching this video. It's, get that yellow thing out of the way. Oh, see? Nah, this is too much. Now, when they say biggest ship in the world, do they just mean, like, long? Like, imagine I built a really fucking wide ship. I built, like, a sort of normal length ship, but I also had a football field on the deck. That'd be something, right? You're gonna think I'm lying to you, but there is something floating in my whiskey. Listen to that cork, though, on this. Oh, that's a cork. That gives me so much pleasure, and I don't know why. Oh, hey, it's done. Cool. So, what did we do last time? We need to, do the FS tab thing and then change root. So, the way we did that was you do gen FS tab -u /mount / and then put that into /mount /etc /FS tab. Cool. Okay. And then we need to do arch, change root to mount. Okay. And then we need to do ln-sf user share zone info /USA for me, central, and we're gonna link that to /etc /local time. We don't want to cat out that file. That's how we ended up in an issue before. Then we want to use this command hwclock --systochc. Cool. Then we want to generate something. What are we generating here? Edit /local.gen, generating locales. Cool. So we're going to do locale-gen. Cool. Generating locale, generation complete. Then we need to edit a file. Oh, create a file. set lang variable accordingly. So we can create a new file. We use touch, create a file in /etc, and we'll call it locale.conf. And then we can edit that file. Etsy locale.conf. Vim not found. What? Banana? Why don't we have Vim? We just had Vim. Oh, you know what I bet it is? Because we were on the ISO. Maybe Vim is installed on the ISO, but it doesn't come with the like base package or whatever. Nano isn't there either. Oh, well, I bet maybe do we have Pacman? Yes. So we do Pacman -s. No, yeah, -s. And then we install Vim. Yes? Yes. Okay, so now Vim is installed, and we can edit /etc/locale.conf. All right, and what we want to type in here, I don't know if I showed in the Arch Linux, in the Arch Wiki, we're just typing in lang equals en_us.utf8. Do lang equals en_us.utf-8. Okay, quit that, clear that, and we're all good. Next up is telling us to do some stuff with keyboard layout, which we already jacked with, so don't need that. We need to do some network configuration. So we're going to create a new file called hostname. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So what we want to do is I'm going to go in Vim a new file. It's going to be in /etc. And it's going to be called hostname. And then all we need to do is come in here and literally type in a hostname that we want to use on our network. So I'm going to call this Falcon. Okay, and close that. And then what we need to do is we need to edit etsy/hosts. And so we'll go into /etsy/hosts. Okay, this file already exists. And what we need to add is this bit right here. 127.0.0.1 equals our host name, -1 equals host name, and then that nonsense. So it's going to be 127.0.0.1, tab over, type in Falcon, because that is what I set my host name to. We're going to come over here and we're going to do ::1, hit tab twice, and we'll type in Falcon 127. Well, that ain't it. 127.0.0.1 tab, and I'm going to type in Falcon dot local domain space Falcon. Oh wait, hold up. I fucked something up. Right here where I type Falcon in these first two things, it's going to say local host. My bad there. That would have been a real that would have probably created some issues. Okay, good thing we caught that ahead of time. No issues there. Next up, make int cpo-p. Creating a new inframs is usually not required because make int tpcio was run on the kernel package of the Pacstrap. For LVM, system encryption, or RAID, I'm not using any of that. Okay, good, so we can skip that step, I think. Next up, we need a password. So we will generate a file here. We will call it password. Cool. Okay, so now we got a root password. And from here on out, it's only mentioning a couple of things. It's telling us we want a bootloader. So we'll open that in a new tab. And it's telling us how to get out of here and restart. Okay, so we also need to set up some accounts. Okay, so here we write down here after post install, it's going to tell us see general recommendations. Couple of things I know we're going to want to install. We're going to want to install grub. So we'll do sudo, or we don't need to do sudo right now. We do pacman -s to install, and we're going to install grub, and we're also going to install something called dhcpcd, I believe. Yeah, and that should allow us to turn on networking so we don't have to manually turn it on every time we come into the system, and it will install grub, which is the bootloader that will make restarting the system a much simpler process. Also, by the way, read up on the Arch Wiki here. There are some other bootloaders you can jack with. Are these installed yet? These are installed. Cool. So first thing we want to do is we want to enable dhcpcd. So we're going to do systemctl enable dhcpcd. You can see it creates a symbolic link from etsy/systemd/system multi-user target, you know, all that nonsense, to dhcp.service. And what this should do is make sure that we have network access when we log back in. Now, if you forget to enable this by default, all this command is doing is making sure that it's starting every time we start the system, I believe. I believe you can manually start it by just doing systemctl start. At any point, you can type in dhcpcd and it'll be all good. And that, I don't know if that was in the Arch Wiki somewhere. That's just something that I feel like you would figure out pretty quick when you're starting any kind of services in Linux. That was something from Manger that I figured out. I'm sure it says it somewhere here in the Arch Wiki in the general recommendations. We're actually getting pretty close to the end here, by the way, that we need to set up grub, and I also want to set up a user for myself, and then we'll end it and go to the next video. We're going to click on the user and group article, and then we'll go back over to grub here, and this is what we need to install. We need to run grub -install -- target equals i3 86 -pc on/dev sda. I don't know how long this takes. We'll see what the heck happens. The next thing we do want to do though is generate that config file that we need. So the way that we do that is make config -o in/boot/grub/grub config. Installation finish, no error reported. Grub -make config -o/boot/grub/grub.cfg. Okay, no errors reported, it doesn't look like. And I think at this point, we can restart. Okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go ahead and restart. Oh, it's reboot. Reboot. In Chroot. Oh yeah, so you have to exit that. Oh wait, and then we need to unmount something. Unmount-r/mount. Okay, cool. So we'll do unmount-r mount. Correct, unmount. Oh, is it umount, not unmount? Oh, it is umount. Whoops. Yes. All right, and then we can run reboot. Yes? Maybe. The stop job is running on DHCP-CD. Okay, well, so we want to close that right now. Power off the machine. And the reason for that is because we want to unmount that ISO. The way that that works is we come over to the display, or sorry, the storage, and we're going to click on this disk here, click on the disk icon, and remove disk from virtual drive. Then, when we restart, we should definitely be booting right into the actual hard drive itself. And it's automatically starting. It's like got a little bit of a timeout. And okay, it wants us to log into Falcon. My password was that. Oh wait, do I have to type in root? So I do root and then that, and I'm in. Okay, so I'm on root at Falcon. Sweet. So next up, we want to create some actual user accounts. So have that pulled up here. So we want to do user add -m, and what that's going to do is create a home directory for our user and /home/ whatever our username is. Then we want to do -g, which will let us add them to groups. Okay, so it looks like we can cat out /etc/group, and that will display all the groups on the system. Oh wow, there are a lot of. So what would we want? We would want storage, video. We definitely want the wheel group. That's, I believe, how we give ourselves pseudo privileges. So it's user add -m will create a home directory, and then -g will let us list groups that we want to add them to. So I believe what you would do is you would say we definitely want the wheel group, then we want like the storage group, then we want the video group, then we want the optical group. I don't even know what we're getting at here. I don't know how many groups, but we can add our user to groups later when we need to. I don't know. Maybe we'll just do just wheel for now and see where that gets us. That's probably the way to go. And then we need to just name the user. So in my case, I'm going to call it Mac. And then we need to do password for Mac. Give him a password. Okay, so now we've got a password there. And then I believe there's something we have to do to give ourselves sudo access. Ah, okay, here it is. Wow, this is hidden way down here. So if you are using sudo, make sure to update your etc/sudoers file. Okay, if we are using sudo, which I assume means that sudo is not installed by default. Okay, Jesus Christ. This is slightly more frustrating than I thought it would be, but we'll go ahead and do pacman-s install sudo. Yeah. And then what we'll do is we'll edit /etc/sudoers. And then I believe if we go down a bit, let me turn on numbers so we can see exactly what line we're on when we find it. Okay, cool. Here's what we want. This is on line 81. And we get this line, uncomment to allow members of group wheel to execute any command. So we hit X on that, but then when we write, okay, so then it should be written. So this should allow any user that's part of that wheel group to use sudo. Couple of ways we can test that. Let's exit that, clear this, reboot one more time here, see how we do. And I'm gonna try to log in as that user and install something. And if I can install something, I'm happy. And I'm ready to say we've got Arch Linux installed. You know, we're just here in the TTY, I guess it's called. But, okay, so we're gonna log into Falcon with that user account. Okay, if we print our working directory, we are in /home/my username. And if I wanna do sudo pacman-s and install, oh, I don't even know. Let's install Alacrity. That's my favorite terminal. So we're gonna need a terminal at some point in the process anyways. Sudo password. Yes, we wanna install. Okay, this appears to be working. Okay, very nice. That's Wow, I feel very, very accomplished about this, actually. This is probably going to take a second to install. Let me look through the Arch Wiki while this is installing. Let's see if I missed anything that might be relevant here. I don't think I had my like standard user directories, like downloads and video and stuff. And I'm sure I could just like make directory and make a whole bunch. And that might end up being how it has to work. But maybe there's a, let's see here. Let's do home directories. I don't even know how I would describe this. So, okay, I think I found it. Jesus. Okay, so there's a program that we can install. It's called XDG user dears, and it will create a whole bunch of user directories for us. Yeah, okay, this looks good. So is Alacrity installed? It is. So what we want to do is we can do pacman-s, I believe will let us search. And the command is called xdg user dears. And I found this by just searching like user directories on the Arch Wiki. So we want to search for xdg user dears. Invalid option -s. Maybe that's not how you search with Pacman. So how to search packages with Pacman. You can do ss. Oh, okay, that's what it is. So it's pacman-ss xdg user dears, and that should pull up any packages that look like that. So you can see here we have two packages, xdg user dears gtk and xdg user dears. So we'll do sudo pacman-s to install, and it's going to be xdg user dears. And again, if we run ls or ls-la, you can see all we have here is a bash rc, a bash profile, and a bash logout. And I believe, honestly, all of those should probably be empty. Count out like our bash profile here. Maybe it's got some crap in it. It does. Anyways, let's go ahead and just run the command here to create some user directories. I believe it's, we run xdg user dears update. So xdg user dears update. And then if we list again, hey, we have some user directories. And I mean, that looks like success to me. I don't know how much else I could really do. Awesome. So that's that. So thank you everyone for watching the video. Hopefully this wasn't too painful to watch, and it might actually be somewhat helpful for anyone else who is thinking of switching to Arch Linux or trying out Arch Linux. Of course, we don't have like an actual desktop environment running. We just have this set up in the TTY. But again, there will be a second video. I will figure out how Xorg works, and I will get some sort of window manager up and running. I promise. And then, you know, I don't know, maybe we'll totally get off of macOS at some point. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.